Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics, and in this video, the reason I'm not recording it in the studio is because I want to discuss an article in Byline Times which has ideas for countering Nigel Farage, specifically how Keir Starmer could counter Nigel Farage. But there's some things in there, and if you read it yourself, you probably know which one I want to focus in on, which could be there for the rest of us as well. But first, for daily political commentary, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So, this Byline Times article, which I think is free to view because I always have a bit of an issue with it, and it doesn't always automatically sign me in. I don't think I'm signed in at the moment, and I can see it. So I think you'll be able to click in the link below and see it yourself. It has 10 bits of advice for how various people, including the government, could counter Nigel Farage. And you could argue these same arguments would work for populism in general. And it's very much inspired by the way Alastair Campbell took Nigel Farage apart during question time last week, not the one from yesterday, the week before. I am actually going to point out, and the reason, as I say, the reason I'm not doing the studio, because I'm just going to sort of go down bits of it, but I'm going to hone in on one particular thing. But it says here towards the start of the article, this is Nigel Farage, recently recognised as the best newcomer in British politics by The Spectator. The newcomer to British politics, Nigel Farage? What? He's been around for ages. This is even more ridiculous than the idea that this very weekend, Nigel Farage, 60-year-old, is one of the keynote speakers for the New York Young Republican Club. I ask you. Anyway, it sort of explains, there's a bit of background to it, and then it goes through 10 suggestions inspired by the way Alastair Campbell tackled him. And it doesn't go into a lot of detail on them, actually. Something like this, you could easily go into a lot of detail, but I guess they need to make sure it's like readable within a relatively short span of time. I'll go down some of them. I would read it yourself. I want to, as I say, really discuss one thing. So it says, first of all, understand the grievances and issues. Now, what I am going to say is here, and I, in a way, can be as guilty as anyone of this, is we don't help ourselves by, dividing up. So, how people will talk about, oh, Brexit was worth it because of the Remainer tiers. That's what they do, divide and rule. It's not as good if we engage in the same sort of thing. Oh, well, this stance or this person must be someone worth following because they upset people from this other group. Whereas what we want to do ideally is bring people together. And I know I'm not the best of it. I am no stranger to the use of the term gammon, for example, but I'm sorry, it just fits. But nonetheless, I take the view that what we actually need to do with these people is to say, so what led you to vote for Brexit, or what leads you to support Nigel Farage? What are your issues with your day-to-day life? We need to put those right. Now, that's for the government to do, of course, and Labour do seem to be on it with several of these at least. Sorting out the NHS is sort of a given with Labour. Housing, they're really going to town on. We'll see where they are with jobs, because good quality jobs is another big issue there. Access to public services in general, we will have to see. But we know when it comes to access to the NHS and housing, Labour are really going for it. Second one was to engaging confidently with some cockiness. Now, that absolutely, but what you're talking about there is big personalities, isn't it? People who have the confidence and the capacity to engage with people like Nigel Farage in a very confident manner, tearing them down, actually ridiculing them. Ridicule is incredibly important in political discourse in Britain. I don't know how, we know it's used in other countries as well, but in Britain, you really need to be able to ridicule people. It's a big part of our politics. And but the problem with that is when you're putting it on the government to do it, your political leaders are either good at that or they're not. Keir Starmer's not good at it. To be honest, not many are. There's not many who are really good at that. I think of the cabinet, I would say Lisa Nandy's pretty good at it. I think she's quite good. Ed Miliband on his day is not bad. Angela Rayner as well has had her moments. But, you know, generally speaking, you've either got that gift or you haven't. Or, you know, ability, I suppose it's a skill you can develop. It says facts work well with emotion. That is another thing we need to go. You know, it's for a lot of people. I mean, I'm, you know, quite big on saying data, look at data. But there are a lot of people, it's, you know, how I feel. We need to take account of that. Seizing the narrative. So again, there's talk about, and this is absolutely true, Nigel Farage too often dictates what the narrative is and who are the key people and things like that. And it's not. And it says here, counter this, the focus should shift to tangible benefits of immigration, like foreign-born NHS staff filling critical skills gaps. What I would say there is, really that's for the media. I'm not saying politicians can ignore it, but even when politicians try to do that, it doesn't get through to the public via the mainstream media. I'll give you here's my, you know, caveat in a moment. Give you an example, and I've already used this example today, I believe. PMQs this week, this Wednesday. Keir Starmer said that immigration, or migration, actually is the term, migration was 4 times higher under the Conservatives of the last Parliament than it was when we were in the EU. There was Keir Starmer pointing out that Brexit not only did not deal with the immigration problems that people perceived, but it made them way worse. Where was the mentions in the media? I did see the odd little one, but there was no great spotlight. Oh, Keir Starmer's like saying that immigration's actually been made worse by leaving the EU. So, you know, politicians can say things, and they can say the right things, and they can try to put positive spins on immigration. And they do that. Because when I listen to full interviews, I hear it. I do not see it being reported and recycled in reports. So that is one on the media. But there is a but to this in a moment. Then it says, expose the contradiction failures. I'm all about that. Absolutely, the contradictions. Go hammer tongs on it. And that's something we can all do. We can all do that. Point out where things do not make sense. The 6th one, be relatable and authentic. It's very much like that other one I was talking about, being a bit cocky. That's a personality thing. That is a personality issue. Because when you say be authentic, there are some people who are very inauthentic that the public perceive as authentic because they don't know them. Like, you can't, you know, you can talk and be authentic with colleagues and things like that. But when you're talking about stretching across to the public, trying to talk to millions of people via some sort of media platform, the public will either think you're authentic or they won't. There are some people who are authentic who do not come across as authentic because they're maybe socially awkward. Or there are people who are very far from authentic, like Nigel Farage, and a lot of people think they are authentic. So be relatable, authentic is a skill. It's not, you know, being in itself. And it is, again, something that you're effectively talking charisma. It's like people either have it or they do not. Yes, it may be a skill that you can develop, but some people are just naturally better than others. The 7th one is the one that I'm sure you'll come no surprise I'm going to focus on. Leverage digital platforms with innovation. Now I'm going to read this one out. It says, Farage has appeared on BBC Question Time 38 times, making him the programme's most frequent guest. This repeated exposure amplifies his populist rhetoric while often failing to scrutinise his claims adequately. To combat this, opponents must move away from reliance on legacy media and instead use digital platforms to communicate directly with voters. Well, why haven't you suggested this in the past, Phil? Yeah. Go on about it all the time, don't I? Social media and podcasts allow for unfiltered engagement with voters, countering Farage's narrative and reaching disillusioned audiences. And this is what I said all the time. There was a time where the only way to get messages out to the public en masse was via what we've described here as the legacy media. Newspapers, big news broadcast programs. The problem is the politicians these days, including in Labour, view these as the media. They see newspapers, they see like Sky, BBC, ITV as The media, they're not. They are now a declining section of the media. Social media allows you to have your own platform. There are other people with platforms who will be much more useful to you. But my advice to them is build your own platform on social media. You can get out to a lot of people. Labour, if they were to develop their own social media platform properly, I mean, they have on YouTube. There is a Labour Party YouTube channel. It's terrible. Keir Starmer actually made his own, suggesting that he wanted to take YouTube seriously. It's terrible. It's like, it's clear that whoever's managing it hasn't, and I don't wish to offend people. I'm sorry if you're trying hard, but it's awful. It's like they haven't even read the Ladybird beginner guides to YouTube. It's absolutely terrible in every way. But it has the potential to get out to a lot of people. A lot of people. I mean, if I quickly look at mine, in the last week, if I take last week, for example, how many people did I actually get through to? Unique people, because you can tell that from the analytics. YouTube's really good. And this is declining, by the way, because there's not as much interest in politics at the moment. There's been a huge drop in audience figures, not just for me, political channels in general. And yet, last week, I still got over 150,000 unique viewers, not views. And I got more views than that, thankfully. Actually, individual, unique accounts watching my stuff. And that's me. Imagine what Labour could do every week. Get through to all of these people, build up their own narrative, you know, explain what they're doing. They don't have to then be worried about doing interviews with politicians and thinking how they're going to twist this. If you think they're going to twist it, don't do an interview with that politician. I'm not in favour of politicians like boycotting certain interviews because they don't like them. But at the end of the day, if your job is to get a message out to the public, if the media aren't going to be serious, and they are being very trivial, like this sandwich thing, it's utterly ridiculous. You know, Kemi Badenoch, oh, I don't like bread. I don't believe in sandwiches. They don't exist, you know. And it's the #1 viewed political story on The Guardian. It was on the front page of a newspaper today. It's ridiculous. Stop it. Do your own stuff. Go to platforms where you're going to... Like today, Ed Miliband's trying to talk about energy. Serious topic. Something he's trying to get ahead with. This is what we're trying to do. What does the journalist do? They want to ask him about that bacon sandwich from 10 years ago. Ridiculous. So that is my big one. There's a few others as well on that, but I'll leave you to read that yourself. But that is one that I add. And that is, again, something that all of us can do. Because one of the beauties of social media platforms, YouTube is the one that I'm the most positive about, of course. It allows anyone to go out and have that voice, to build that platform up. Anyone can do that. And some people use it for ill. Some people use it for, you know, naughtiness. But anyone can use it. Labour can use it. The Lib Dems can use it. They don't. They choose not to. And I don't know why. It can only be that they do not understand this. So of the 10 things, number 7 is the one that not only should politicians see as more positively, and I think the reason why they don't do it is because they don't understand how to do it. They think it's a lot of effort for not enough reward because they don't know how to do it. So it seems like it'd be like me trying to build a car out of matchsticks. I don't know how to do that. So for me, it would seem like a lot of effort for too little reward because I don't know what I'm doing. And I think the same is true of them. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for further content. And until next time, I'll see you later.